Judy Battista from NFL Network on the Browns quarterback situation and what she thinks might happen.
If we believe the language that they use going back to the spring, they're going to value processing time, decision making, that kind of thing. They want somebody who's going to be able to run the offense, minimize mistakes, make good decisions, things like that. They use those words a lot, processing speed and decision making, when they talked about Dillon Gabriel, especially in the spring. Don't forget, he has a whole lot of experience from college football, 6 years worth. So they were impressed with his processing speed to the point where they said, like in the spring, they were putting more on his plate than they initially thought they were going to do for him. They kept giving him more information because he was absorbing it so much. Now, of course, when you look at Joe Flacco, there's no question they know how he processes things and how he runs the offense because he's already done it. They went to a playoff with Joe Flacco. So the spring was mostly about just putting Joe Flacco to the side, getting Kenny Pickett up to speed on this offense, which he has not played in before, and then getting the rookies going. But if you're looking at the quarterback competition, it's really two quarterback competitions, the competition between the two rookies and then the competition between the two veterans. Certainly, I think at this early point, you would say Joe Flacco has to have the edge just because he's been there and won there. And then I think you keep an eye on Dillon Gabriel, who I think caught some eyes in the spring with how quickly he was absorbing information.
Let's welcome in Scott Petrak, Browns beat reporter for the Chronicle Telegram, as well as BrownZone.com. Scott, we've heard a lot about the quarterbacks. We'll finally get to see him on Wednesday. You took us through, you wrote an article with some scenarios. Take us through that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe Flacco emerges as the week one starter. I don't think it's guaranteed that that's going to happen. I think Kenny Pickett takes the first snap on Wednesday. And I know you said that doesn't really matter, but I do think it at least gives you a jumping off point for this stage of the competition. So, let's assume Pickett takes that first snap. Then I don't know if it's his job to lose, but I do think he would probably have to stumble for Joe Flacco to pass him as a starter, just because Pickett's 27 and former first-round pick, and I think the Browns believe that there's a chance he could be their long-term solution at that position where, Joe's 40, and that's really not possible. But I think you need to see more from Kenny Pickett. The Browns need to see more from Pickett than what he showed in the spring. I know when I was watching him, I wasn't wowed by what he did, and that doesn't mean in the meeting rooms and he's not making all the right decisions, but just didn't see a lot of splash plays, and that's kind of been, his history in the league. There's, he's 15-10, but only thrown for 300 yards once, only thrown for, I guess, more than one touchdown once in his career. And then you switch to the rookies, and to me, it starts with Dillon Gabriel. Obviously, he was picked 2 rounds before Shedeur Sanders was. The Browns like him. Judy was talking about the processing speed. He's got a lot of time in college, 6 years, threw for a ton of yards, ton of touchdowns. The question is, I don't think right away the question is, can he be ready week one to be the starter? I think the question is, can he be ready week one to be the number 2? If not, then you probably have to keep all 4 quarterbacks. And I think it's going to be a difficult decision for Andrew Berry. And then you go to Shedeur Sanders, who I thought looked the best in the spring of all 4 quarterbacks. Now, the circumstances were different for Shedeur. He didn't get any work with the ones. He didn't go against the number 1 defense. He spent a lot of time on that second field when they were doing simultaneous drills, a lot of time in the red zone, which padded his quote-unquote stats. But I was impressed by him, and I do think he closed the gap to whatever extent on Gabriel. I still think there is a gap there. I think it's a long shot for Sanders to emerge as a week 1 starter. But if he continues to throw it really well, and that carries over to joint practices and it carries over the preseason, who knows?